Greetings, geeks! Here we are with another Wizards haul video, long overdue. Been busy times over here at Wizards HQ, but we've been amassing a lot of interesting pieces of Wizard history that I wanted to share with you. Let's kick off with a big one here. This is very fun. Recently, one of our Wizard superfans, yes, a geek of great renown, Mark Florio, was kind enough to get an issue of Wizard autographed by the cover artist, Bart Sears. That's right, we recently interviewed him on the Wizard Files, and Mark went to a show in New Jersey, a very fun show. Bart was appearing there, and now we have his infamous Wizard number 9 cover featuring Venom, autographed by the artist himself. So that is very cool. Looking back into Wizard history, this is another thing we recently came across, but this is a promotional poster on sale in March. As you can see, this was promoting the Sam Keith Max cover here with some great art there. So that was one that we needed for the archives. Along with posters, this is kind of interesting here. So we have gotten these little mini posters before. They look like this, okay? And we were kind of wondering, like, well, this didn't get cut out of the magazine, you know, the dimensions are wrong. But of course, this one here was promoting their August issue from 1999, issue 97, and then an issue of Toy Fair showing, you know, the Earth X mail-away Venom figure and all that you could get. But we just didn't understand, where did these come from? And so it just so happened that these particular posters were being sold with the official Wizard envelope and stationery here, and the letter inside, okay? So this is interesting. I'm not going to read all of it, but this is from Stuart Morales, Director of Sales at Wizard. And so they go into like, hey, here's things you should look for, so on and so forth. But they make it very conversational. Like, he just starts off saying, I just saw the new Star Wars movie. I'm actually the first and only Wizard employee that was able to get a ticket to an advanced screening of the film. The verdict? It was fantastic, of course. Many have told me that the movie got mixed reviews from film critics. Let me make my position absolutely clear. Anyone who said this film isn't great is wrong. The only opinions that matter are the opinions of the fans that will be spending time, money, and energy on this film that entertains us and makes people happy. So Stuart, probably in the minority at the time, although opinions on episode 1, The Phantom Menace, have changed over the years. But he goes into other retailer incentives and things like that. So he says, you may have noticed with Wizard, we have been altering our strategy in the choice of alternate covers for the magazine. Instead of choosing covers targeted only at the direct market, Linsner's Dawn, and covers targeted only for newsstand sales, Superman, Spider-Man, we are now choosing more hot, mass market cover subjects, Austin Powers, South Park, and Pokemon. Why do this? We're doing this to help expand the appeal of Wizard to millions of potential consumers. So anyway, interesting things like that. Plus, they say, with our overship programs through Diamond, you can return any combination of unsold covers. They don't have to correspond with the combination of covers that were originally shipped to your store. So again, just kind of these behind-the-scenes tips for the retailers and things that they could know. So that was kind of cool, just to have that peek behind the curtain for, you know, the official comic book stores that were carrying Wizard and ordering. Now, we talked about conventions earlier, right? That's where Mark Florio got that awesome autograph for us. But this is the Wizard World 2000 program, okay? Now, this was just so heavily promoted the entire year of 2000 in the magazine. There would be like at least 3 double-page ads all throughout the issues. And so I wanted to grab this only because I want to do a special video on this, so that's just something to look forward to. Just going through, looking at the guests, looking at the layout and everything right here. I don't want to give too much away. I did think it was funny, though. On the back here is Dark Angel, this Fox sci-fi series that was starring Jessica Alba. And it just so happens, sorry, I'm going to disappear here, that I have the Dark Angel DVD set I just picked up at Goodwill recently. This is produced by Jim Cameron. Yeah, James Cameron. You know, I'm on that first, or more colloquial, I don't even know what word I'm looking for. We're buddies, James and I. Just kidding. All right, but speaking of Jessica Alba, this is another issue we've been trying to track down. It's a really rare cover. And this is Jessica Alba as Sue Storm in the Fantastic Four. But this is one of those issues that for whatever reason, like you just do not come across this version of their mega movie issue. And she appeared on quite a few Wizard covers, but this particular one, and even still in the poly bag, is something special. So I was glad to grab that, yeah, because this was like the spring-summer 2007 that this one was coming out. Of course, we're all getting hyped for the Fantastic Four movie that's coming out soon. So speaking of magazines, this is something that Steven Sapellis, former co-host on Wizards, our main podcast, he tipped me off to a coworker of his that we may be talking with sooner than later, I hope. But he used to write for a Wizard competitor, and one of those magazines was Triton Magazine. This is from 1993. I've never heard of Triton Magazine. This is the first issue, still sealed in the poly bag. But when I was looking it up, I found from March 1994 a Gen 13 cover. And if you listen to the podcast, you know how much I love Gen 13. I had to grab this. I just wanted to see how their reporting differed from Wizard Magazine. And I will say, it's got some color images in there. You got some Jim Lee, there's some Gen 13 promotional art. So the first few pages are, and they're trying to have attitude, full frontal. But then the rest of it is literally like a black and white price guide for toys, for comics, but they even had original art, an original art price guide. It says right here, original art listings. So that was something Wizard didn't do until years later, like literally like in the year 2000, and the issues we're covering on the main episodes now, they started adding original art price guides. So Triton was ahead of the game. That's pretty impressive. All right, last thing here, as we're closing out, I wanted to share this with you. This was a piece of Wizard history I had kind of forgotten about. In the early days, they were trying to be both, a promotional tool for the industry, but also wanted to get in on the comic book preservation side or storage side. And they created this brand, I guess, like label inside under Wizard called ProGuard, G-A-R-D, not G-U-A-R-D. And as part of that, they released some interesting things. So they released comic book binders, and we started with Bart Sears. There is his Brutes and Babes art right there. It kind of wraps around to the spine here. So this was a very cool thing. There's that ProGuard logo if you want to see what that was all about, okay? And so this is just from 1993, one of their earliest releases. Now, I had a friend growing up who stored his comics in a binder in like plastic sleeves, and that was so strange to me. I didn't understand, but I found somebody who was selling that from their private collection. You don't see that too often. But I decided, let's make it official, and why don't we also buy Wizard comic book supplies, okay? And so these are 100 comic pages. So inside, these are plastic sleeves for, the 3-ring binder, okay? And they have the Wizard logo, a foil kind of prismatic logo there. But the other interesting things, by the way, these are by Ultra Pro, who did a lot of, your comic book and card, based items that you needed for storage. But what I found interesting about this is they actually include, I don't know if you can see it there, but you could fold over and seal your comic in there like a bag and board. If you want to put your board in, you can. They did not come with boards. But so now we have these comic book binders, and we said, well, what are we going to keep in here then? We got to make use of it, right? Well, what better thing to keep in there than the Wizard half issues? We have a collection of Wizard half. So now we could just flip through and we could see, oh yeah, there we go. There's our Rip Claw. And, and you could put your certificate of authenticity in the back. So that's really cool because you can fit a lot in here. I mean, this is a thick, binder. Now, that wasn't the only time they released a comic book binder. There was another style. Look at this guy now. This is a little more plain, but who is this? Who is Wizard Man. I actually reached out to Brian Cunningham, former editor of Wizard, and I was like, do you have any idea who drew this Wizard Man? Because look, he's got the W's here, he's got the W on his head. I have never seen that character appear in the magazine. It's not Poof the Wizard, it's not Crystal, it's just kind of generic there, but I just thought that was so cool. So yes, we do have more Wizard half issues in there because there's so many that were released. But anyway, that is an exciting part of Wizard history. Again, they got into so many, areas of the business trying to make their mark. But thank you for checking out this supersized haul video. Hope you enjoyed that look at what we've been collecting here. There's always more on the way, so stay subscribed here on YouTube. Make sure you're checking out our Comic Card Crazy videos and the other things that we will be bringing your way here. If you like 90s comic books, is this your first time finding us? Well, why don't you check out our main podcast, Wizards, the podcast guide to comics. Over 320 episodes now of the last 5+ years, where we cover every issue of Wizard magazine. We've already made our way through the 90s. Now we're in the 21st century, covering the issues from the year 2000 and beyond. You can find us at wizardscomics.com or just on your favorite podcast app. And make sure you hit subscribe there. And hey, if you want to leave us a review as well, or at least hit like on this video, we would appreciate that. But thanks so much for checking this out. And until next time, keep your books bagged and boarded.